This is KOJRO, and this is my 22nd video in this Christmas calendar series. And this time it's going to be a bit of a difficult topic, because this is a very broad subject. And if I'm going to explain this in detail, if I'm going to give you the full understanding of this, it's going to take lots more time than the videos I have left in this series. But the topic of today is address decoding, and this is especially something that you need to consider when you are doing microprocessors and interfacing with stuff, because each individual device in a computer needs to be addressed by the CPU. And what we are going to discuss now is address decoding, and especially we are going to show this with showing you some memory mapped I/O devices. So, and especially we are going to show you just one chip that is done to this, and this is a decoder chip, a 3 to 8 selector chip that is called the SAN74138. So let's start with that. Yes, the topic of today is not for those weak at heart. It's quite it's a difficult concept to get a grasp on. I know that this is something that a lot of people struggle with, but I try to simplify it. I'm not sure that it's working though. But address decoding is the topic of today, and we are going to put this into use from one of the absolutely most used memory decoders, and is still used up until today on retro projects. I've used it myself, and it looks something like this. And we have looked into a decoder before. It was the 7454, I think, and that was a 4 to 16 line decoder. This is a 3 to 8 line decoder, and it's a much simpler circuit. And in its most simple form, you actually have the truth table here, where you have the 3 bits that counts up and gives an active output here that can be used for a chip select. And you also have some gates here to strobe the signals, the G2A and G2B signal, and you have also the G1 that you see is doubly inverted here, so it's actually a positive input. And you have, of course, the select inputs here. And in this truth table, they have put the G2 and G2A and G2B and put them together in the truth table. And you can see that as long as this is high, it doesn't matter what the input is, it will always be high. And if this one is low, it doesn't matter what this is. And it's the same. It's either G2 or G2A or G2B that can be high. So the truth table in its simple form, and it looks a lot like the one we used before, but it was just less lines. And this is used. This is from the system board on the 5150 PC from IBM. And you can see here, these 3 chips here are 138s, and they do the address decoding, system device logic decoding, together with some other chips, of course. And this is also from the 5150, and this we actually looked at yesterday. And here you have 2 cascaded 138s to do the address decoding. They could, of course, have used they could have used another bigger chip, but the cascading possibilities of this makes it a very versatile chip, as we will see. And this is from the game adapter, of course, from the 5150. It's from the reference manual. And you can see here, this is the Adlib zone card. It uses the exact same chips here, 138, for address decoding. And you have, of course, a buffer chip here for buffering, but that's another business. And you can also see on the Sound Blaster, it does have the same. So this is, it's as picked from the reference book for making ISA expansion cards. And address decoding is 2 things. Now we have looked at a lot of loose cards that only care about themselves. But in a computer you have to have an absolute understanding of what should be available where. Otherwise, there will be some crashes, and everyone that tried to configure things with upper memory spaces and BIOSes back in the day knows this. And this is for small takeout for the memory map for the IBM PC. This is the upper mem for the room spaces, and this is some of the lower memory for address of sound cards and serial ports, parallel ports, and keyboard, and so on. But how does each of these devices know where they should be? And the address decoding is, of course, the key to this. This is a simplified sketch. I found it online. It was only the picture and the link that was going further was broken, so sorry for stealing your sketch, whoever you are. This is lacking something that you need to have in a PC, and that is actually ROM, but it will be just the same. Like so for the address bus, and you need to have some address decoder stuff for this. So that will have to go from here, chip select, and you also have to connect this to the data bus. And of course, this is also something that can be represented in more than one way. The ROM is always writing to the bus, so you can say that this is represented with one arrow like so, and then this should be arrows both ways. And this one that is an input device should at least have the arrow this way. An output device, if it's handshaking, it probably should have the arrows both ways, because it can just both write and read to the data bus. But I'm digressing here. This is what we are going to speak of today. It's the address decoder logic, and this tells, based on something on the address bus, which chip should be active. And the chip select can be compared with the 3-state we had on our last video, where we used the 373 and it has a 3-state output. And that means on some time or somewhere inside the computer, there is something that decides which chip should communicate on the bus at what time. Yeah, I don't think I will get this much clearer as of now, so I just switch to paper and try to draw it for you. It probably won't be better. Yes, and now we actually have reached the December episode 22, and we are going to speak about address decoding. And address decoding is the idea that you are going to map out which devices are going to be spread over the memory map over your... let's say that you have normal 8-bit CPU like the 6502. It actually has 16 address lines. So I'm going to write this out. And 16K address space is 16 address lines. And that equals in hex this area here from 0000 to FFFF. And you have to have some memory, you have to have some room, you have to have some I/O chips for joysticks and stuff. You have to have maybe some printer ports, some serial ports. You need to have some additional room. Maybe you need to be able to plug in a cartridge or whatever. And everything of these has to be placed somewhere in memory. On the C64, it's the PLA that does this magic. And since the C64 have a pretty complex memory map, it's wise to do this with a discrete chip. But on a PC and other devices, it's more common to use a much more simplified device. And of course, it's possible on C64 too to make the PLA with discrete logic, but that will be quite the large device. And the memory on the C64 is actually very well decoded, except for some small things. And the SID chip actually is available on more than one location, and that's because they could have been even more complex in the address decoding, but they didn't bother. So this is it's mirrored. And we are going to get back to what that means. And that you have some mirrors means that you have partial address decoding. Yeah, and partial means that not all lines are used. And you can, if you are going to address a single byte on a C64 or some other device, you can think of this as a large gate like so, and it's an AND gate. And you have the chip select here. And let's say that you have every line in here has to be, every line except one line, can take this one, has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16. So every one of these needs to be a 1, except this one that needs to be a 0. Then you have just one single byte in the memory scheme. That's of course not a very efficient way to do things, but you are sure there are no holes, because this byte will only be accessible, this chip select will only be a 1 when that situation here is occurring. And we can't make a device that does this for every memory location. That won't be practical. So what we are doing is that we are making some logic that handle this, and a very much used chip is the one that we are looking at today, the 74138. And let's look on some of the things that actually can be done on that one. And partial, not all lines are used. And we have the opposite, of course, full, all lines are used. And of course, this can be a lie anyway, but you can have full memory decoding and still not fill your whole space. But you can try as best as you can, and if every device is similar, let's say that you divide your 64K in 8K devices, you won't have any space left. But in what we are going to discuss here, just to simplify things, we take 10 address lines, and that means we have 1K, and that is, of course, that is 2 to the power of 10 is so many bytes. And we are going to have 4, let's say that we have 4 times 128K memory chips, kilobyte memory chips. We can make this a big B, then we know that it's a byte. Chips, like so. And to address a 128K memory chip, it's 2 to the power of 7. Is 128. So how will this actually look? Yeah, we can try to make a table to show you this. I'm not sure if I'm very good at explaining this, but let's see what we can do. And I'm going to make an awful large table here, but let's hope that this will fit somehow. And I need, so this is the device. And let's call them chip select 0, chip select 1, chip select 2, chip select 3. And I need the address lines. See if I will space this enough evenly. Yeah, that was not so bad. And I'm going to make another one. Just like this. Do you think I will have the same luck with spacing out stuff? And we have the same device. And I try to spread the addresses like so. And this is going to be full, and this is going to be partial. It's a lot of drawing for quite a little thing, but I need to be able to illustrate this somehow. And to have 4 devices, 4 memory devices, you actually only need to have 2 lines, because when you think of this digitally, it will be just these 4 combinations you have to select 4 devices. But the difference between full and partial is that you take into account every line. And like here, you have 7 bits that you need to address the addresses in the individual chip, and that is these ones, like so. And I have the same here, because these are only 128 chips, like so. And this will be our decoder. And we take the same binary counting here. So you see that here we say that A9 will be 0 to reach this space. And that is an assumption. But what if we say that we are counting this up as so? And we say that this doesn't matter. We're not using this one. And this of course will be excess because it doesn't matter for the chip select decoding. Like so. So that means that if this is 0 and 1 and this is just 0, you will have a mirror on this one. Because if A9 is high, it really doesn't matter. So here you have the situations where you have this first like 0, and then you have the same situation all over again when they are having this combination, like so. So each of these memory chip will get CS0, CS1, CS2 and CS3 on another memory location. So that is what you are doing with memory decoding and why it's wise to take as many bits as possible. And of course, to get a full decode, you need to take into consideration as many devices as you like. And back in the day, when I did this kind of stuff on some experimental basis or I made something, I always used an EEPROM for this. And that is the same trick that is used to replace the PLA in the C64. You are burning an EEPROM with the decoder that you want, and an EEPROM has of course memory lines as inputs, and then you use the data outputs as chip select. You only program the pattern. So that's what I was able to explain today. Hopefully some of this made sense. Yeah, how hard was that? I could probably explain this better if you got some more time, but it's very time consuming to make good presentations and to make this foolproof. And it's only meant to broach the subject. There are more information about this out there, and especially the chip, the 74138, it's used in lots and lots and lots of applications. It's one of the most used chips of the decoder series, at least. Of course, the buffers and the glue logic, like the chips with just the gates in, are more used. But this one is used in almost every vintage card that is accessing the ISA-bus and some of the other buses too. Yeah, and that's it for this time. Hope to see you again tomorrow. Thanks for watching.